Thank you so much for joining this video. I just want to let you know that you can find the slides for this presentation that you're about to see in the comment section. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up and a comment, and also join my channel because I'm sharing many more things that are related to the topic. So with that, have fun! Generative AI code-based development. So this is one of our newest products where we actually have Joule available, and it's called SAP Build Code, and I will tell you a bit more. But let me start with kind of two questions we were asking ourselves. So the first one is, where do developers spend their time? And who of you is a developer? Maybe a quick show of hands, okay? Good. And then what kind of capabilities are there to increase? So maybe now a question to the developers in the room. Where do you spend your time with? Codes, yes. What else?
Lots of boilerplate stuff in the codes, like declarations, making it modular, tidying it up.
Tidying it up, I guess a bit of testing, I guess a bit of integration, right? All of these lovely things, yes. So according to a study from IDC, we actually, they identified that developers only spend 20% of the time actually developing application. Does that sound right to your understanding? I don't know, do you, if you look at it? Yes, no? I would love to get an understanding of how is your reality.
I spend more time in Googling.
More time in Googling! So, what we just then, based on the study identified is, okay, if there's not so much time spent on the development per se, where else is it spent, right? What else do you do? So, and we heard testing, we heard integration, we heard security, we heard Googling as well, obviously getting the right information to know how to do these things. And then we are asking us the second question about what capabilities could we help you with? And one of it was to generate, have code generation, but also have easy access to APIs, so ideally directly in the product itself where you're developing. Then also having more maybe automation of the software development and deployment, and also collaboration possibilities between different types of developers, but maybe also with the business side. And that is where we have developed SAP Build Code. So we have generative AI-based code development, and I will show you this a bit later on. It is optimized for Java and JavaScript, and you can do coding, testing, integration, and the whole management of the application lifecycle management. I think with that, it's always a bit interesting because there are three main areas. So the first one I already mentioned, we will talk about Joule, and we will show you about the code generation in a second. But the other two things of why this product is really interesting is that the second one is that it is tailored for SAP development. So what do I mean by this? Is that we have a lot of pre-built integrations, we have pre-built APIs, we have pre-built business services that you all can access directly from that software. So if you have been on the Business Accelerator Hub before, yes, no? Some of you? Okay. Everybody who did not raise their hand, this is the first task after this session. Check this one out, because honestly, it's one of the most underrated websites at SAP, and if you're a developer, okay, he's nodding, he's agreeing with me, yes, most underrated website. So honestly, check this one out, but you also can access the content of it from there. What is on there? Again, pre-built things. You don't need to start from zero, okay? Then also, with SAP Build Code is part of the BTP. What does that mean? It brings you a lot of those kind of security, authentication, authorization, accessing of your data protection, all of it comes already with it because it runs on BTP. So if you use it as part of your BTP stack, these are things that are already coming with it. And then the last thing is this enhanced Fusion development. Who has heard about Fusion teams? One person? Okay, so a Fusion team is when you actually bring different people from different skill sets in terms of development together. So there might be the pro code developer, who obviously knows it in very much detail. There might be somebody like a citizen developer, somebody who is a bit familiar with code, but is not really the person who can write a lot, but understands it. And maybe also the business expert that necessarily doesn't really have a lot of understanding about code, but brings maybe the business case and has a technical understanding. And we believe in collaboration between all of these three personas. And this is also what we're enhancing with this technology. So let's dive into these three a bit deeper. The generative AI-based part. what you can see is just a really quick overview of how you have Joule on the left-hand side, where you can then enter in a natural language or prompt, and then it can generate you a lot of different things. We have released this part at TechEd last year, and then we run actually a huge pilot with a lot of different customers at TechEd, and I will come a bit back later to what they have been saying about it. But generally, what can you do? You can generate app logic, you can help generate data models, you can generate test scripts, and remember the kind of 20% that we talked in the beginning? This is exactly where it can help you and accelerate yours as well for this particular area, but because it comes with these other different endpoints of where you can access things, that is where it also enhances the overall productivity. So, the SAP tailored environment, what you can see here on the left-hand side, I know it's very small, but it says here SAP Business Accelerator Hub, where you have all the different packages, again, directly accessible, and where you then can also bring them into your project or into your developer environment. And then when it comes to the enhanced fusion development, what you can see is basically the options of building an application, an automation, or a business website. This is more the kind of low-code part, which again might be more for the business expert or the citizen developer. And what I often see now with our customers is that the front-end part gets, for example, put to the business side, so they get maybe a half-a-day enablement of how to use it. And then the back-end part is developed by IT. And again, you can now do these things and also have them all in one lobby where you can easily switch between the different personas, and also have an overview about all the different projects, and you can have an understanding of how to work. So one person maybe likes to rather work with low-code, no-code technologies, the other one more with pro-code technologies. This again comes now all together in this one software application. So whether what you want to use, we have these different tools now available to exactly meet your development needs. But I also know that you always love to learn a bit more about how does it actually work. So here, some people hate it, some people love it, an architecture diagram of an example application. What we can see here in the top are these different personas. We have the citizen developer and the pro developer, and all of both can access SAP Joule in order to do some different code generations. Then we have the end user who is accessing the application. We're looking here at a customer loyalty application for a bike company. And what you can see here, all of them, both of these different personas come through the SAP Build lobby, where again you have several different collaborations or governance methodologies. And then from here, they can decide which type of parts they would like to use. The SAP Build is the low-code part, the no-code part, and SAP Build Code is the pro-code part. And then, of course, it is about developing the underlying parts with the different runtimes, and also the backend that then connects to, for example, an SAP system. But let's look at the application itself. This was one of the use cases that were built for SAP Sapphire. This is, for example, the application. You could see a bit of the front-end part, and all of these things that you can see here is the low-code part, right? It's about dragging and dropping and bringing these different components together. Again, this is just now how somebody purchased something about a bike application, and then these rewards get stored in the profile, and then you can use them again for any kind of other purchases. But I guess you're now interested about more the GenAI part of the pro-code area. So let's get into this. So we're now building an application here again, low-code, pro-code. You can only do the UI or the full stack, and now we give this a project name. And this is now the customer loyalty application where we develop backend. Of course, enter a description so everybody else who you're collaborating with knows what this application is about. And here you can see this is at the moment a completely empty document. I don't have no data models, no service entities or anything available. So now, in plain language, we're putting a prompt in. Okay? And this is now this application that should be defined with the different entities. We need to have one for the customers, we need to have one for the purchases, and also the redemption for these different customer loyalty parts. You can see here now the code, either you like it, or you go back to the prompt and refine it. You have this little button here, which brings it then over, and now you have the different data models and services generated. So, how are we seeing those to use this? Either use it as a first part to get an understanding, right, of how to build these different service entities, Or you use it as, like, if somebody, doesn't maybe know exactly how to write this code in the right areas, this is also, again, something of how it can be done. But it can also create you some kind of test data. So you can see here, now we're generating 20 lines of test data. And we're asking now again, Joule, of course, you can type these out by hand. There's different test data for our application. But we also might just ask Joule to do this, again, with in a natural way of how to enhance this problem. So we can see here now it has filled in the test data. And what we see now is we have the data models, we have our different service entities, and now we're going into the part where we're creating some app logic, because any good application is good with some parts of the backend, but if you don't have any app logic, understanding how directly the customer loyalty application work, it might not be as great. So that is now where we're getting into the next part, where we again open the code editor, and again we're created with Joule, which you can see here, and it gives you also always a bit of an indication in the top right, what kind of prompts you, for example, can put in. Now here, I think for each purchase value, 1/10 of the purchase will be rewards points. And again, we are putting in a prompt language, and we have some code here. And again, it can be used maybe just as a basis, right? When you start to develop some things, it doesn't need to be necessary that you take everything with you, but it can be a starting point. In this example, we will accept it and then continue with the application. So these were just a couple of examples in terms of what SAP Build can do. There are more examples of what you can do with it. You can test it out for free today. I have a QR code at the end where you can do this yourself. But I still want to show you now, we have now built a bit of the backend part. I want to show you now the front-end part about the SAP Build one, how we are now connecting these two parts together with the exposed data that we have. Great. So here we are in SAP Build, and I actually wanted to pause that video right at the beginning. So let me in case you're not familiar with it, but this is now the SAP Build. So this is the low-code, no-code way of how to develop applications. The other one, SAP Build, the pro-code one. Sorry, SAP Build Code, pro-code one. I know, what a term maker. But just again, to very quickly run you through, you can see here at the top the different parts of what you can do, right? This is the canvas. I always say what you see here is what you get, because you have these different parts which you can then drag and drop over to build with your application. You then have the different entities to, for example, change the name or connect different pages. And here at the bottom you have your application logic. So if you open this part, we'll see it a bit later in the video, you can see how you add some parts of logic then again too, right? If you click on a button, something should happen when you click on this button. So this is again, maybe for your business users in your organization, if they have a business case, there are a lot of learning materials out there. You can give them these learning materials, they get a bit of an understanding, they build these different pages of how they should be working out. But obviously now, this part where we connect these together, this might be then something for you where you can, where obviously the IT side comes more into the part where we're doing the back-end connectivity. So, okay, so now we're going on to the data tab in the SAP Low Code. Where we might go not. Okay. I'm sorry, I'm wrong. There we go. Okay. We go back here. And now let's start the video. Okay. So now we're going to the data part. And what you can see here is that you have already some SAP systems which are exposed, but you either can use, they have also some data parts which are directly in the local application, or we go to the SAP systems and we have here different destinations in the BTP destinations that are exposed, and these ones you can call here, and you can see now here that these are the different data entities that we have been just creating in the program part before. You can also see here the test data that was created. And again, I think now you slowly see a bit how these two things are coming more and more together. So we're at SAP, we now also think a lot about the value can bring, right? Because often we hear like skepticism about, well, how much will actually that kind of code generation actually give me? So some of our experts have done a bit of a value case in understanding how much it could actually generate for an organization. So we have now here Tara as a software developer who is using SAP Build Code with this new latest GenAI code generation benefits. And what is one of the benefits is that 30% of the reduction in application development costs due to the usage of this application, then also 30% of faster application development. And an improved user experience because all of it is together, it's a nice interface, and you can easier develop applications. So this is one viewpoint of benefits that we see from it. But we take it now a step further, where we look into, okay, what is the kind of like the value journey of it? So we're taking here the 30% of reduction in application development costs, and without AI, this would be 0.08% of revenue spent on application development. And with AI, we see that it's 0.056. So you see the decrease in terms of development costs spent for it. And if we now apply this to a company, we have just done the example of a consumer product company with 10 billion euro in revenue. And you can see here the annual IT costs are also 100 million. And then you see the other parameters of how we evaluated it. We get to a saving of annual savings of this amount. Which again, obviously you need to know that apply this a bit to your organization, but I think you can see maybe now how the usage of AI can also create benefit in your organization. Of course, apply these numbers maybe in your way of how you see them. But I think I was pretty amazed by these different ways of now how we also creating these value cases and how AI can also help them. So I want to now go a bit more into where does this all come and fit and in the whole SAP BTP ecosystem. So we have SAP Build Code in the middle, which I just showed you about. I showed you also a bit of SAP Build, which is you see it in the top, low code and pro code. But now maybe some people are like, where's my ABAP? Well, don't worry, it's still there. It's still there. We have also on the BTP and ABAP environment. We also just released some of these new GenAI capabilities that are meant to come in there. And this all is now underpinned by, of course, bringing several different things together. Because you, of course, need to integrate your applications when it comes to application development. You need to also have the right data connection points. Maybe also some of the data, of course, you can expose some of the data directly, as we've seen through the destinations. But what about if you need to enrich your data with, for example, from a hyperscaler? Or how do you bring all of these different data points together? This is where we have also now released SAP DataSphere, where you keep your data in your context. So this in terms of the application development overview. So if there is, if you go out of this room and somebody asks you, what did you learn in the beginning session? This is a mental snapshot. So you can obviously take also a physical one, you get the slides, but this is one mental snapshot to think about, okay, what are the different capabilities that SAP is offering in terms of application development, and with that is extensibility options. But of course, when we talk about extensibility, there's this bigger picture or this bigger word in the room, clean core. So, for those of you who have never heard it, it is an approach where the core system remains as standard and also untouched as possible. But, as we heard earlier from the presenter here, from the customer, he was saying, yes, we try now to be a bit more forceful in terms of where we stick to fit to standard. And maybe where this is so unique to us in our business process, we need an extension. And that's again also where we are supporting you. We're not saying you always need to stick to standard. We say just think about it and consider. If it is, if it already has this business process, then go with the standard. But if it's really unique, then develop ideally applications in a clean way. So what does that mean? I will show you in a second. So of course, what does a clean core bring you? A lot of different attributes. A lot of people actually talk about the efficiency and reduced TCO, which obviously comes with it. But one thing that I find very interesting is recently I was at a BTP Innovation Day where another customer was standing up on stage and said, I upgrade twice a year and I do it in 10 days. Not calendar, not weekdays, but in 10 days. And I think that's quite impressive. And he now says that his business side is so amazed actually by this part, the agility and the innovation. All these new buttons or these new latest things they're getting in their newest releases, they're very excited about these parts that they now start talking about, what is the new update coming, right? So I'm just saying that, of course, often the middle part is quite an extensive one, but don't underestimate also the power of the first and also the reliable data and insights to make decisions right on real-time data. But second mental snapshot for today. We have several different extensibility options. We have on the left-hand side in SAP S/4HANA Cloud on-stack availability, and on the BTP side we have side-by-side extensibility, which you might have heard of. In the old way, in the more classical way, you would do it directly in the core. But there are other more modern ways, more clean ways. So on the S4 Cloud side, we have direct key user tools. So that means within S4 you have some more low-code ways, for example, where you can already have some hidden fields, which you can unhide, you can expose some data points. So there are some parts what you can do. But we also have an ABAP environment on S4, where you can write ABAP code in a clean way. And now if you look onto the SAP BTP side-by-side extensibility, we have our BTP ABAP environment, where you can write ABAP code on the BTP side. We have SAP Build, which is the low-code, no-code way, which I showed you before. And we have SAP Build Code, which is more for Java and JavaScript. So, second mental snapshot, right? These are all the different tools, but you probably will ask me now, what question?
What's the AI on that side?
Where's the AI on that side? Okay, I was not prepared for that question. But, well, we're building a lot of in here, right, directly. We have a lot of embedded AI. You actually, if you're on public cloud, you can already activate it. There's an early career adopter program or something like that called. But yeah, an early adopter program which you can do. Private cloud, I have it on my slides in my next session. I think it is Q3, but let's look at it in my other slides. But yeah, so we have a lot of built AI in here. We are also looking into like the building AI in here in terms of the GenAI function. We have the AI in here, and it also will come in here. So basically everywhere, to your question. But what is the question that that you might be asking? Ooh, no question. Which one? Yes. So which one should you use when? Well, it depends on who you have available, what are the resources in your organization, right? If you're a complete ABAP house, right, you have options. But obviously Java and JavaScript are more modern technologies that you can use maybe in these areas. And if you want to bring also the business side or maybe some of the development, then maybe also think about these areas, right? I was at Sapphire with another customer from the UK in a room and we had a session. And they were like, oh my God, we didn't know that this exists, the other part, the SAP Build, because we are so known for these things, right? So I hope that kind of opens maybe a bit the world of terms like thinking maybe also in other areas. But generally speaking, all of the blue bubbles are clean, okay? The only one non-clean one is the orange one, but we don't talk about this, okay? So, maybe a couple of customer quotes. I mentioned it already, that at TACAD, we started to run this huge pilot program for SAP Build Code. Yeah? And I think what I just heard from my product management is that people came in very skeptical. They were like, you know, I'm not sure if this will really add any benefit to it and so on. But actually they got more convinced. They said it was more positive than they even anticipated. So, for example, we have Henkel, it's one of the parts where I just highlighted a couple of parts where it brings all of the different features together that they need to build a full-stack application, or it needs to shorten lead time to market. Or we also have Parler here, which comes to the interoperability between the different SAP Build, low-code, no-code solutions, collaborative effectively, boost developer productivity and so on. Actually, Henkel presented in Orlando at Sapphire. And they said now that you use SAP Build Code for rapid prototyping, right? If it needs to be quickly something done and put together and show it and play it maybe back to the business side. They use it for building the data models, for building the end logic. At the moment, they have like 50 business applications planned to be built this year. which is quite impressive, I would say, that they still are planning to do in the next half so many different business applications. But again, they say it really increased their productivity. So these are maybe just a couple of like endpoints, but there is obviously a couple of things that I want to also leave you with. Who has been on the BTP Discovery Center before? Okay, a couple of minutes. So, second task, if you haven't been on the Business Accelerator Hub and the BTP Discovery Center, this is the second most underrated website. So definitely go there. So what I want to show you now are a couple of things. So I will mirror my screen now, because I have all of these links open. So this is the Discovery Center, and it brings you with missions of how to start for all of the BTP products. So anything in terms of like a step-by-step guide, you can find it here. You can also find reference architectures, and you can find our service catalog. If you go into the service catalog, you can of course search for SAP Build Code, which you can see here. In here, it gives you an overview about what the technology is about, the pricing. It gives you an overview about the related missions that are available, for example, how to get started with it, the roadmap of what is planned for it, and the different customer stories, and also more research here on the right-hand side. I use this as my Bible, okay? This is what I use like almost every day. And one thing that I find particularly interesting is this little estimator sign here in the top. You can add it to understand how much would something cost. So I've done this on my second part, I think here. We already now have it in the estimator tool. So now it says something, okay, 1 capacity unit. Anybody know what a capacity unit is?
I was going to put a question why it has been made so complex.
Yes, I love that you say this, because yes, it is complex. But I can help you in terms of making it simpler. Because I'm not sure, it's really easy to miss, but do you see this little sign here? Yeah, you see it? Okay, it's really little. But that goes, again, if I would click on here, I just don't want to click on it because it will, bandwidth and everything. That goes then through this page. And that is the SAP Build Code Capacity Unit Calculator, okay? And I think then it gets a little bit easier, because if you now play a bit around here, right? You can see here if you want to do full stack and mobile and UI right now, and then you can see, okay, if you put this in there, and then you go back, and then you put this number in here, wait, there's one too much, and there you go, okay? Obviously this number, talk to your BTP account executive about these things. That's all much as, as a guidance reference, talk to them about what you're planning. You also have a BTP CPEA or BTPEA, right? These are things that you also need to talk with them about, but just as a reference, okay? So I'm going back to, let's see if I can go back to my slides. Okay, let's just do this part like that. Okay, so these are the things, I just put them all as lovely screenshots, and you will get then, there's the link always then on the pictures. There's also the SAP Build Code Metrics. Again, yeah?
Your presentation.
Oh, okay, that's flipped. Oh, actually, then I did it the correct way around. Thank you very much.
Swap displays on top.
Yeah, get into it. It's just very difficult when you need to look straight at here. But, okay, so, the SAP Build Code Metrics. Again, it just describes all these different things a bit more, what they are, for understanding the capacity unit creator, right? You have it here. I linked it to you there. And then there obviously also are migrations. We heard SAP Business Application Studio earlier today, right? From the customer of how they developed the application, BAS in short. There are migration paths from BAS to SAP Build Code. Because if you want to use there, you can do it. There's a blog, and there also are some information about the SAP.help page in terms of the changing service plans. You can also get both. We'll link it all for you here. And now the big one. Try it out, because you can try it out for free, okay? For free. I want to stress this again. You can actually, at the moment, we have a lot of these AI unit parts and something that in order to run a lot of these different test trials, you can do it at the moment for free until 1st of September. I'm not sure what exactly will come after, but test it out, right? Try it out. Will probably lead you to a learning journey, so that's what you can do there. I did this one not really big because I had actually only this slide in there. the people who listened to me, they were like, Vivian, the QR code is too small, so that's why we did it really big, but it's again here. So this is all from my side. I hope that gave you a quick overview. Connect with me on LinkedIn or via email. I talk much more about BTP and AI and all these things on LinkedIn, and if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. And that is it from my side.
Fantastic. Thanks so much.